Just like Lizzo has influenced a lot of people with her music. And I'm talking about some fantastic music. And that's why it's kind of one of those things when I hear about what's going on in her life right now, I'm just like, what is happening right now? I don't know if I believe any of this, but apparently she's being sued for abuse. Now, this whole thing came down with 3 former dancers are suing her for sexual harassment, facilitating a hostile work environment, and other troubling claims like, locking them in a dressing room so that she can go through their phone and like purge a video. And like that went down.
Her security.
Her security did, yeah. But that's what they're saying. But then it's like they're apparently former employees, former dancers, and Lizzo had a whole statement about this where she said, "Hey everybody," here's her actually statement. She said, "These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who already are publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional." And she has high standards for her employees. That's what Lizzo says. But sometimes I have to make hard decisions, but it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they aren't valued as an important part of my team. Now, this whole thing, it's like some of these allegations, it's just a lot. And it's like Lizzo's out there busting her ass. And Sabrina and I talked about this too. I feel like she probably has a high standard. I mean, they're talking about how they had to work 12-hour days and she was very demanding. And
welcome to the entertainment industry, ladies.
And if they couldn't make it, they couldn't dance well enough for the 12 hours, she would fire them because she needs people who can dance for more than 12 hours. I mean, like the whole show, it's like, it's very excessive. There's a lot of work going into it.
Day after day after day after day.
So, I mean, she has to have high standards. Look at what she's going out. Look at the product she's putting out there for people. And they're saying that she's weight shamed them and they face religious and racial harassment. But that also came from her manager, or apparently the stage manager or the choreographer who was like apparently very religious.
Dance captain, I believe she was called.
Yeah. But
like we're in high school, dance
captain.
I don't know what that means.
And they're like, that's not Lizzo, that was her. I mean, it's just like a lot of this going out. There's 6 people. They say there's 6 more coming forward too. All of Lizzo's actual dancers that were on the tour, the special tour that she just finished, that actually, they all were like standing up for her and being like, Lizzo's amazing. Yep. She's fantastic. She's a great human being. She wouldn't do this. These are just disgruntled employees. There's a lot of back and forth in this, and Forbes itself said this could hurt her whole image, which it could. But I think that she's a big enough artist that it might not destroy her. And it's a lot.
I think if it's proven that if that's not the case and they're just disgruntled, it's not going to hurt her one bit. It's going to make her stronger. Sorry, it's going to make her stronger.
Yeah.
Obviously I can't, it's the court of public opinion is one thing, and obviously we don't know what really happened, but like she is such a body positive person. Like I don't even understand how anyone could. It literally makes zero sense to me. Like she is such a strong woman, and that's what she puts forward in herself, but also in her music. And I don't see her like shaming anyone. I mean, obviously it's a business and you are going to have to fire people and you are going to have to I don't know, whatever about the cell phone thing or there are certain aspects of it that are very weird. And obviously, I can't speak of, but like as insofar as like fat shaming dancers or, like discriminating against people for race and religion, like it just seems very out of character. It's like, then basically like her whole thing is a lie. And I have a really hard time believing that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think so, Spring. I really have a hard time too.
Possible.
Yeah, anything is possible. Ty says it's true, but like I don't know, it just doesn't seem like Sabrina was saying with her image as it is and how much she's given back to music, and then you see how what she does and how she like pushes boundaries and just very like a very famous like proud person of like where she's come from and where she's gotten. It's just like it just drives me. It's just weird. It feels disgruntled people. It sounds like it's oozing confidence. It just feels like disgruntled workers to me. But I don't know. It's tough. The music industry is tough. Oma, you probably know what's better than any of us, like how tough it can be and what you can go through the struggles to get where you want to be. It's like to build yourself up. When you hear this, is it, how do you feel? Are you upset about this? Like, you like Lizzo? Is she influential? Has she impacted your career? Like, what do you feel about like this whole situation now? It's crazy.
I would say that I hope that they reach a resolution soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to at least separate the allegations from the choreographer, from Lizzo herself.
I agree.
Yes.
So I think it's important for us to do that.
But the lawsuit puts it together. That's why it's weird,
Yeah, and I technically understand why they put it together, right? Like legally, but yeah, I think that we should separate that firstly. Secondly, Lizzo does have a standard for herself, as every artist does, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
so she did. So there are a few things, right, that are happening there. So I think that people need to allow her to have a standard.
Absolutely.
Um,
Like every professional.
like every professional, thank you.
Yeah. Like, right.
And I hope that she uses this as an opportunity to maybe rebrand herself and to also let people really know who she is, right? And if there are certain standards that she wants people to know that she has, she should be honest about that and say that. Um, I feel like the employees, they didn't have anything to say before, but now they're saying something now, right
Mm-hmm.
after they got kicked off the tour. So that's a little suspicious to me. But that doesn't mean I'm invalidating their experience on the tour. So I don't want to say that wasn't their experience. But it's a really sad situation. And I hope that they just reach a resolution at the end of all this.
Yeah, I hope they
Very
do.
well
And
said.
yeah, very well said. And you're right. It's like every professional. And that was a big thing I heard too. Like I was like reading things about it. They were saying about like, the 12-hour rehearsals, and people just seem like, she has a standard. She's Lizzo for a reason. She got there for a reason. It's like, to be a backup dancer for her, it can't be an easy job. It's like anything else. It's like actors that come on set too, to be Tom Cruise levels. It takes a long time. To become anybody, it takes forever. And it's a lot of dedication and time. And it's just like, you got to have the best people behind you to make the best performance. And, unfortunately, not everybody gets to do that. It's just, and it's great that, you keep going, just keep getting better, work on your craft and get better and better until you get there,
And at the end of
and
the day,
she's,
people need to remember that Lizzo is an entertainer. Like, you have to watch her shows. Like, it's like she is doing the most. Okay. So anybody around her, they need to be doing the most too. They need to step it up. So that's why, she's demanding a lot and as an opportunity to rebrand herself and really talk about the standards that she upholds, right? Because, like, not to compare to somebody else, but like Beyonce, we all know her to be the person that sets the standard. She's not playing any games.
it's like, and that's the bar is set right there.
Yeah.
And it's all about the bar. Like, what do you expect from the people that are working around you and representing you too, and that's,
But also, as someone who, I was a dancer. I was in ballet for years and years and years, which is grueling. Like, and I quit because I was like, "Fuck this!
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. I'm not eating 1 pea a day. I'm not getting yelled at and abused by my teacher. I'm not getting told my boobs are too big and I'll never be a professional dancer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not." Like I'm not doing that. Like you always have, if you feel like you're being abused, you have an opportunity to step away. There are other jobs that you can find. And so if things were that bad, you also, and I'm not saying that their allegations are untrue. I don't know.
Don't know.
But if you felt like you were being treated this way for a long period of time and like you were just going along with it for a paycheck, you could find another job. I mean, change is not easy. Don't get me wrong, but like, I'm not gonna let somebody abuse me repeatedly because of a paycheck, like or a dream. I wanted to be a dancer. I was like, fuck that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna let somebody walk around and tell me what a piece of shit I am and how I'm never gonna be good enough. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Confidence, Serena.
Well,
That's
I
also
understand.
true.
If you're confident enough to go and dance for Lizzo and be in front of hundreds of thousands of people on tour, like that's confidence.
But like,
You had
if
confidence
you're-
enough to go to that audition and get that role.
Okay, but then once you're there, then you're like, I'm here and I'm scared of losing the opportunity.
But if
you're
you
gonna
got this
do
job, you can get another job.
anything. But
Yeah. And that's a
but
very
what if
real
you
feeling.
but what if you think like, I'll never have another opportunity and this is it, and so I have to do everything in my power to do what I can to be here, and so I will accept abuse and I will accept whatever. I think in this circumstance, like, well, I'm not going to necessarily say like everything is true. You do have to listen to the victims until
Oh, 100%. I'm not saying that you shouldn't.
until like the allegations come forward and everything is finished and what have you. I don't know. I agree with Rachel too. Like she's said some sus shit in the past, and like I'm not gonna 100%. I think this idea with celebrities, like with Ellen, like remember the stuff with Ellen? We spent years like Ellen is a
Oh,
great
yeah.
person. Ellen was never a great person. We knew that. Her comedy for years has been her being about her being a shitty person. Like I mean, that's just kind of like you can't have an expectation of a celebrity being a specific person because they create like body positivity music or because they create
Yes.
whatever. I mean, at the same time, like Trisha Paytas created tons and tons of body positivity music and then all of a sudden went out and like got all the toxicity in the world and then became like a terrible person and went against it. Like I'm not saying like this is the same example as Trisha Paytas because she's like a terrible person and example, but like there are people that like will go down one path and then all of a sudden they'll flip a switch one day and you just don't expect it. Or
Well, fame does that to a lot of people, generally speaking,
does.
already.
or
I
like
get that.
I mean,
Seen
you
it
could
happen a
have
lot.
somebody like a Jerry Savile who like the entire time everybody thought he was a great person working with all these kids and then he was doing terrible things to kids behind their backs. Like it's one of those things like you just never know the truth of the situation until like all the allegations come out and all of it like is really there. And so this idea that because of the kind of content that they create and because of the message that they're creating and what they're doing, that they are that. I think you know that you have to sometimes separate the artist from the work and then
Yes.
Right, but
go,
she
you
wrote
know,
those songs though. She wrote those songs. So that's how she feels. Like maybe
like
she doesn't still feel that way, but
I
she
can
wrote
write
those songs.
I can write a song about something that I don't believe in and then go out and make a bunch of money on it and then
Ooh.
It's true.
and then
I don't know.
I can become a front to that and I can, you know, what have you. I mean, there are plenty of examples of people who fail at left-wing comedy and go, hey, I can make it in the right-wing circuit, right? And then they switch over to right-wing comedy, and because they're terrible at comedy, they're killing it in the right-wing circuit because there's not as much need to try. So
And that's but Lexi,
Stephen
you're right on a lot
Crowder's
of
a
front
great
there.
example of that, you know?
You're right, a lot of fronts there, though. That's what we talked about not too long ago about, Jonathan Majors too. The allegations leading up for him. You just don't know, like, until you get all the facts and everybody comes forward. I think we get this idea of people that like, oh, it can't be, and I get like that too. But it's also like then you hear more and more people, and you just don't.
Well, okay,
you
to
just
be clear, I never
mean,
said it can't be. No one said that. Everyone agrees
well,
that you
I
have
mean,
to
it's
hear
like,
both sides. Like it just seems weird because of what she puts forward. And also, she has a bunch of people that do currently dance with her that say that she's fucking amazing. And then these people who happen to not be working with her anymore that are saying she's not. I'm not, she could be a raging cunt. I don't fucking know.
Right.
Like I don't
Exactly.
know.
Jeez.
I'm
But you know
not
what?
saying I do.
Somebody said something online that I thought was really interesting. They said the way individuals experience somebody is always different, right? So
Yep.
like even like with parents, the way you experience your parents could be different from the way maybe your younger siblings have experienced your parents.
Very true.
So that's really important to take into consideration. And I like Lexi's take on the opportunity part. Um, I think it's important to notate that these are plus size women, people of color in the industry, and that feeling of being afraid of losing can make somebody stay in an abusive situation for a really long time. And there's not like just another job for them versus like other dancers like Lizzo is the main one right now that's giving that platform, and I think Beyonce now, there's not many places for them at
Lady
this point.
Gaga has plus size dancers also. Like there's a lot there now, and not 20 years ago, 10 years ago even, it was not a thing. You know what I mean? 100%. But like to work as a professional dancer on tour is a very difficult job to get, period. So
Yeah.
I
Right.
totally understand what you're saying, 110%. But like now it's so much more like thank fucking God, finally, like it's multiracial. It's everyone looks different. Everyone feels different. Everyone's body's different. Like some girls have big boobs, some girls have little boobs, some girls have big asses, some girls have little ass. You know what I mean? Like there's guys, there's, you know what I mean? Fat guys, skinny guys, little guys, you know what I mean? It's all, everyone's there. And Lady Gaga is a great representation of that, you know, and, you know, Lizzo's all, she all has mostly plus size dancers. I don't think she has any dancers that aren't plus size, but Lady Gaga, it's like every guy, every girl, every size, every color, everything, you know, like it's beautiful to see finally the inclusion like that, especially in the dancing world, because it's a very tight, difficult industry and profession. It's grueling, it's brutal, you know, and like I was a dancer, so like I know how fucked up it is, and I get it, and I'm not saying like, you know, I'm stronger than anyone else, because I'm certainly not. It's just like in today's world where we are right now, there is more opportunity for everyone, I feel like. In every profession, I feel like the doors are opening slowly, but they're opening, you know, and, you know, I wish it was happening quicker. I wish they were opening faster. I wish the floodgates were open instead of the doors, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's a different place. And like women stay in abusive relationships where their husbands beat the shit out of them and then bring them flowers every day. Like I'm not saying, you know, that it's easy, but I'm just saying that's an option. You know what I mean? Like for anybody in any shitty situation, you know, there are people who stay as a you know, in a menial job, like as a teacher's aide or something, that gets shit on by the teacher they work for. And they're like, oh, I don't want to go through the effort of trying to find another job. I'm just going to let this lady fucking treat me like shit all day, or this guy treat me like, you know what I mean? I get it.
I do
but
that.
Like to go out and audition and get a job like that, there are fucking hundreds of thousands of people sometimes that show up at these auditions. You know, you got that job. Like you have to have some fucking confidence. You got that fucking job. Like that is hard. It's hard. It's harder than getting an acting job, because 99% of the time it's like, oh, you're my cousin's friend. Yeah, come in and audition. That's totally cool. We'll give you that line. No, we're good. You know what I mean? Like
the stress of unemployment is even worse. Like that feeling of not having a job is horrific, and like that feeling of having to try again and try to go through the process is just as difficult too. So I understand like sticking through some real shit. I've been abused terribly at jobs, just terribly, and I've endured some real awful work environments, and I have some terrible PTSD from working in retail and sticking through it because of the fact that I need to pay my bills. And honestly, capitalism is what screws all of us in the end. Like, I mean, the fact that we're forced to need that instead of just being allowed to create and make the art and not have to worry about that. But regardless of that factor, like them being in a demanding environment and having an expectation, but there's also that stuff that you hear about them with her as well, with the sexual stuff, like being made to
that
go
sexual
after
stuff
her,
too. There was a bunch of
like,
at the strip club and
going out, and there's that whole thing, and she's kind of only kind of said, yeah, some of that's kind of true, and like I kind of do some of that sort of, and like, but like they know that hanging out with me, and they know that I'm kind of sexual, and I know that like, so then there's
but
like
also she's like, touch her boobs, and the girl's like, no, I don't want to, and everyone's like, touch her boobs, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Like that's like, you know, again, like, are you going to get fired because you don't, or don't go out to a strip club like that? I mean, if that, and people are drinking and, you know, I don't know, that's
but like if you have a boss like Lizzo's your boss, and Lizzo's like,
just don't
come
go
to the strip club,
I'm
and you're like,
home. No thanks,
no, I don't want to, and
you.
Lizzo's like, you know what, you a bitch if you don't go to the strip club, and you're like, well, Lizzo's gonna call me a bitch if I don't go to the strip club, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the strip club.
I'm real tired. I'm not gonna come to the strip club.
I'm gonna go to the strip club because Lizzo's calling me a bitch right now, so like I'm just gonna go.
I mean, I just want to address what Kevin Davis said. He said, I believe these women are just lying for the paycheck, and that's also a huge part of it, because she is so wealthy, and because of this situation, that's also a huge factor that happens. Like people, you know, try to extort. I don't know if extort's the right word, but like it's basically you can do this sort of thing and get paid off without even having to go to trial. And if it was true, they probably could have brought this up and been like, hey, we're going to take you to court if you don't get your shit and fucking, and then she could be like, okay, fine, here's $1 million each and no sweat. But since, like, you know, it could have been hush hush under the rug at that point. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. There's just a lot of things. It could go either way, obviously. And there's not enough information for anyone to make a super informed decision. But
Right.
there's very easily, you worked for her. You could be like, listen, you did this, this, and this, and I will fucking go tell everybody and fucking take you to court. She could have been like, here's $1 million. Please don't say anything. Sign an NDA. Boom, done. No one ever would have heard of it.
That's true. But like we were saying before, there's two sides of this. There's a lot of allegations, and it has to all play out in the court of law. We have to see where it goes. And like we talked about the pressure that, sometimes you just do things like we're talking about. You need a job and you're worried about your job and you're worried about your abuser. So that's something that could be, or it could be the paycheck thing. I'm waiting to hear more information because there's so much happening with this.